highly anticipated expansion pack for Destiny to Taken King is finally out. Erick Tay and Mike Mahardy, you boys put in some work. You stayed here after TGS, 2 a.m., played Taken King on a live stream for hours and hours and hours. I came back in this morning. You were still playing, you crazy person. But what I want to know about, first of all, is that viewers of the lobby, fans of the lobby out there, want to know, you guys had a chat last week. I believe you said the first one to
PAX.
Level 40. It was at PAX?
Yep.
First one to 40 was going to get a steak dinner purchased by the other. I see some body language here. Eric, how did you get on?
I lost.
Okay.
But I think at the end of the day, yes, he did beat me. I will say that. But I think at the end of the day, we can both say that it's like kind of like not what we expected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think in our minds, we both knew that it would, or we both felt like it would come down to like this race of like, okay, he's here, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like if I do this, or like if I do this faster, I'm gonna win.
You'll
And then,
figure out the fastest way to 40.
Or sure, yeah. And like it just wasn't that at all.
How did you do that? How did you get to 40 first?
Go ahead.
Well, we both saved up a bunch of bounties. Like we filled all 16 slots before the expansion launched, so we could turn them in right away and get the experience.
Fucking cheaters.
So I know a lot of people did that just to to get the higher level, just to start playing higher level stuff and have access to better gear. But as it turns out, it was going a lot faster than we thought. But I also had this cloak equipped that he had, but he didn't have it equipped because he didn't know it gave you 10% experience, and I knew that at first.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started like popping the bounties, and we both felt our controller vibrating. So we backed out and saw we were level 38.
Oh my
Or he was
gosh.
38. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I gotta hurry. And I went to turn in my bounties. I turned in like all 16, and I backed out. Said level 40, and he was like.
was like
So the last
30
one
seconds later or
was a
something?
year 1 bounty, so you
Yeah.
couldn't just turn it in from the screen. You actually had to go to the person.
Right.
So I kind of said out loud, like, oh shit, I'm out of bounties. And he's like, oh no. And then I like, oh wait, I have one more. I can go turn it in. And I turned it in and hit 40 while he was kind of like calming down, I think.
So like a matter of seconds, or like a matter of inches.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So that kind of, do you feel like you missed out at all?
I mean, I don't know. It just
On leveling?
I think no, because to be honest, we had this discussion on the stream. It's like the 40 number was kind of just like one number for you to get to that you would just like you would technically just progress through the story. But it's not really the number that matters.
Yeah.
Like
so
at the end of the day.
Let's talk about what matters then. So Taken King, first thing I want to know about is one of my sort of gripes that I have with Destiny is that I never felt like there isn't much in terms of like what I like about games. Gaming content, story, missions, stuff that's like unique. I always felt there was a lot of copy and paste in Destiny. So from what I'm hearing around the office, Taken King has got some really fascinating story and mission stuff going on. So Eric, first of all, what do you think about all that?
So first of all, just structurally, how things are like, how they went about it this time is like way better than what they've done like previously. And I was saying this last night too. They kind of took like a Blizzard model approach with like they did it with StarCraft recently. What they would do is you kind of get like this lead up to the mission. You either have some type of cinematic or you have your conversation with your quartermaster, quest giver, and then you kind of go along.
Collect 10 of these, go do it, kill them.
Not necessarily like that anymore, but and then after your mission, you would get a little bit more story flavor on what you just did or like what your next steps were.
Yeah.
Where some of the so it kind of weaves the story better. Whereas in the past, it was like you kind of got the mission, you did it, you kind of heard from Dinkle, and then you just kind of like, oh, okay, here's the next one.
So they've just made them feel more special. They've sort of fleshed them out in terms of like narrative and cutscenes. And
Yeah,
stuff
it just feels smoother, I think, and I think even for me, like I don't care that much about the story personally, like, but I can tell what they're doing and just seeing the little bits of cinematics just here and there, like, I mean, granted, it's taken them a year to get here, but like, just those little nuggets is like a big deal. I think I've seen quotes of like the first 30 minutes of Taken King's story is like killed Destiny Year One.
Yeah.
Like that's how good it is.
So how much of that is there, Mike?
So the main thing that I like is the characterization. I mean, they're telling a story. It's a very small-scale story in terms of, for anybody who's actually gone to Bungie.net, which I have not done often, but I was so interested in the lore behind Destiny because there's so many hints at this awesome story, but it wasn't in the game. There really is a huge amount of lore, just so many different, like wars in the past that affected like what happened, and then the Traveler came anyway, that's
so have
kind
they
of the thing.
transitioned that to actually being in the game now through the story?
Not the overarching lore as much. I mean, with Oryx being the villain of the Taken, he's the Taken King, and then also the Hive King. It's kind of the Taken themselves are kind of this weird force that keeps absorbing all the other factions. Probably see it soon. They become this new faction that's kind of just these specter-looking things that have new abilities in addition to the old ones. But yeah, the characterization on Nathan Fillion voices Cade, the Hunter Vanguard leader. And he's kind of the sarcastic one of the group, and he kind of takes things into his own hands and just goes off and, without spoiling anything, he kind of, paves his own route with what he wants to do in terms. It's kind of.
So how is the story? Like, is there a lot of it? Is there a lot of missions? Does it feel like in terms of hours? Have you completed it yet?
Oh yeah, the story took us 3 hours.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
Much in terms of replayability? No?
Well,
you sort of done with it,
once
or?
you beat the Taken King, which is like half the story, you continue with that's the story, but you continue with the Taken Wars, which those have more context surrounding them as far as fighting the Taken army kind of. After that, it's like endgame single player cooperative story content almost. It's separate from strikes and PvP and everything and raids, the raid obviously, but it's like story driven missions that you could do single player co-op. I did a few single player, but Tay and I did a few this morning. And yeah, there's this good context surrounding them, which I think was lost on previous Destiny missions. So you kind of have a general understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, which is always nice to me. I'm like Tay, I didn't go into Destiny for the story, but it gives you like you have a sense of impetus when you're doing something if you know why you're doing it, how it's serving the overall storyline.
Cool. So outside of that, I guess that core like sort of 3 hours of like fleshy, meaty content, what else are we looking at here? I know there's a bunch of new subclasses, there's a new area as well. What, like, checkbox this stuff. What are we looking at in Taken King?
Well, we've yet to see the raid, which is like the big deal, of course. It's always been a pretty big deal, and not having one in House of Wolves, and then now finally having like probably a proper one. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to assume because they basically took one off, right? The new area is great. I think we're seeing some of it here. The dreadnaught. It's a ship that's right outside the rings of Saturn, I believe, or right inside them,
floating.
And the cool thing about it is there's so much stuff you're like trying to find, like little nooks and crannies. Some of them are quest related, like go find these calcium fragments, and you just look around the environment and you're like, maybe there's one there. And I'm literally jumping everywhere trying to find this stuff, and that's the kind of cool things, right? There's even this other spot that I haven't confirmed this, but I've heard some stuff, is that some of these quests require you to do things like you have to dance to trigger the event, or like there's like a sparrow event or something.
It's like some Dark Souls Bloodborne.
Yeah, exactly. So then I started doing Bloodborne things. I started triggering my point. I tried to wave, and that wasn't really in Destiny before. I mean, like, sure, there were some secrets, but it feels like the Dreadnought, like the area itself, there's just so many secrets. There's all these chests. It's like, you need a key of something to open this. Like, where the hell do I get this key at? Yeah. And like, there's numerous amounts of things. And we haven't even tried the Court of Oryx. So there's just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of new stuff. And I think I was telling Mike this. I mean, I know why there's so many DLCs in between something like this, like a really meaty DLC. This to me is more like of a WoW expansion, where like, you've been playing the main game, and then here's your game changer, right? Like, here's something new. You're kind of starting all over again, and that's kind of why I was going all in. I was just like, I kept playing because I was like, this is like leveling again, re-getting my gear, and like the grind is back. And unfortunately, I will say the grind is like pretty grindy though. So like, so someone that's casual is probably not gonna make the raid Friday, but like, world first people will go for it. That's what they want, right? And then like people will slowly get into it.
So let's talk about the final sort of the piece of the puzzle then. Obviously there is a review in progress up on GameSpot.com right now. We sort of get into a lot of what we've talked about already. Why is the full review not up as of yet then? Sure.
So I played about 15 hours of Taken King a couple weeks ago. And I got to play through the story, the endgame single-player content, at least most of it. PvP maps, which have been out for a week now. Actually, as of today, people have to pay for those now, the new ones. But I played the strikes and everything. But I didn't play nearly enough to see how the quest system will figure into, and just like the gaining better loot and the grind, as Tay said, how it will continue after that 15-hour mark, because 15 hours is not that much in Destiny. And I wanted to go back and play with a lower level character. So this is the one I started with this morning, my 34 before we went to 40. But I also want to. There's a buff you get. You can just start a new character or just any character really. And Taken King content, you need to be level 25. So the Postmaster will give you a buff that you pop in and you automatically go to 25. And I also just want to start from level 1 just to see how you can progress through the quests now. But also the big thing is the raid. That's a huge part of the expansion. And having not touched it, I'm nowhere near having like a final opinion on the expansion as a whole.
Do we know anything about the raid? Do we know where it's going to be? What it's
it's on
content-wise?
the Dreadnaught, but you're fighting. Not to spoil story stuff.
Don't then.
Yeah, it's called King's Fall, and I think it's pretty public who you're fighting, right?
Yeah,
Oryx.
let's just say the story, even if it was 3 to 4 hours, I think it is the build-up, lead-up to the raid.
Yeah.
And some of the Taken War stuff as well. But yeah, you're pretty much gonna fight Big Daddy.
So my main takeaway so far, that's like a factual thing that I have an opinion about, is that Taken King is much better about rewarding you for your time. I think there is grind stuff, but I think more than ever, there's still the element of luck playing into it, but I know what I'm working for the most part, and I know it might be like a legendary weapon or a legendary weapon upgrade, but I know I'm going to at least get that in whatever form at the end because the quest tells you. So I feel much more in Taken King than year 1 that my rewards were based less on chance than on just my hard work.
Because so many times you would have finished something and then just not even gotten anything that was worth your time. So I guess to that end then, we're basically looking at the first year of Destiny. What do you think of the Taken King? Tay, as somebody who has enjoyed Destiny, who's been playing Destiny for the past year, is this enough of does it feel like a big meaty expansion? Does it feel like it was worth the wait?
Definitely worth the wait, I think. I wish there were more of these and less of these smaller ones then, if possible, but I know they can't do it, I don't think. Because we've had these conversations of not enough content, right? And that's why there's all these small DLCs, and I get it, right? But like this expansion is like a true expansion, and I wish there were more of these and less of the like kind of like smaller DLCs.
Yeah.
Because this is actually like, it feels like a WoW expansion. Like I feel like, great, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to kind of starting fresh, even though some people are like hating Bungie because they're like, oh my God, all the time I spent year 1 getting all this stuff. It's like, well, I guess you haven't played an MMO before, because that's what it is, basically.
And Mike, final word on it. What do you think about it? Obviously, we'll see a review later in the week, but what are your thoughts right now?
I'm cautiously optimistic so far of the like 25 hours I've played total from a couple weeks ago and today. I need to see more, but it reminds me of Reaper of Souls, what that did for Diablo 3.
Yes.
Because you jump back in, and we jump back in, we were getting green items, like just what were those called? Unique, or just regular?
In Diablo, there were
no.
Oh, in
Destiny. We were getting green gear. That's like a
common.
lower level gear, and it was better than the legendary gear we had. So it's kind of like the loot is a little more relevant, and I feel like I'm constantly have a good chance to get something that I'm going to swap in. Obviously, when you get to higher levels, that's when you start doing the stuff that like Tay loves and that I really like, the late game content. But as of now, the journey there is much more interesting.
Cool. And when will we see a review on GameSpot.com?
We don't have a definite date yet. The raid releases Friday, so we're gonna play through that. Hopefully we'll try to all be ready around then, which I don't, we'll see how likely that is.
So it's gonna be a fun weekend then.
Yes. So this weekend, early next week.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. Mike Mahardy, Eric Tay for coming on, talking all about Destiny, as is the case for the lobby all year round. We'll probably talk again in a couple of months when the next piece of DLC comes out. Or maybe after that, the next patch.
They've got at least 2 if you believe the picture,
Believe it. They have at least 2, Eric. They have, if the lawsuit last week is anything to go by, they have at least 7 more years of soundtrack to get through. So I'm sure they'll find some content. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks very much. Let us know. And also, I have to say as well, you did a really good job, especially considering you guys have been up for like 24 hours.
Well, him especially.
I feel like I've hit my 3rd wind.
You're doing all right. Look at this. Look at this.
This is only my 2nd one. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. You can have 4 energy drinks in one day, right?
Eric Tay,
it's only 2.
Consummate professional, even when he's riding on fumes. So thanks very much.
Next, a giveaway of a Starbucks.
No, that's a major coffee brand. We don't say who it is.
Oh, Sorry.
But it tastes like shit. I've had it before.
It's a mocha.
Nasty. Let us know what you think about the Taken King if you played some. Let us know if you're looking to get back into Destiny. Did you sort of get off the boil and looking to get back into it now that the expansion and the hype is back, now that the grind is back? Let us know in the comments below.